Well, Happy New Year. I was looking at social media on January 1st, and I saw a lot of people posting something that I really liked. They were posting page 1 of 365. And I really kind of liked that idea. This is really neat. It really gives us that idea that the future is ours to write, that it's a blank page for us to create whatever it is that we want to create in 2015. And I don't know how your first 4 days of the new year have gone, but I do hope that the next 361 are the greatest success story that you've ever heard. Now, I don't know how many of you out there make New Year's resolutions every year. Go ahead and raise your hand. See, it was the same way at the first service. You know, we're actually below the national average here at Unity Church of Overland Park. The national average is anywhere from 40 to 50% of Americans make New Year's resolutions every year. Now, if you had to guess, how many would you guess are actually successful? What percentage would you guess actually accomplish? 10? It's actually 8. Yeah, about 8%. Of us are actually successful in our New Year's resolutions. It doesn't matter how well-intentioned those resolutions are. You know, whether they're to lose weight, to eat healthier. We make resolutions to spend less money, to make more money, to spend more time with our families. But it doesn't matter how great those intentions are, it seems like we struggle to accomplish them. We struggle to make those happen. I admit it, I struggle. I struggle to get mine accomplished. And I kind of started wondering about that because as I thought about it, you know, doesn't Unity teach us that if we set our intentions, we should be able to move forward and accomplish those intentions? So what is it about the resolutions that make it so hard for us to do? And I think this year I finally realized something. You see, what I realized is that when we make those New Year's resolutions, really what we're doing is we're making a to-do list for ourselves to follow. I'm going to go to the gym every night. I'm going to start working out. And that sounds really great for a little while, and then about a month later, I'm sitting there going, gym, chocolate cake. I'll go with the cake. So what I realized was that instead of making resolutions about things we want to do, these to-dos, that what's most important is what we've come here to be. To make our list of to-bes. What it is we want to be in 2015, what we want to embody in 2015, what is ours to really experience and really understand in 2015. So this year, I'm going to invite you to just go ahead, let go of the resolutions. You're going to let them go today. And instead, I want to invite you to focus on one word. Just one word. One word that can be your theme for 2015. One word that can guide you throughout this year. One word that will guide you to a place of expressing your God self in a way that you've never expressed it before. And that brings us to our white stone ceremony. Now, the origins of these white stone ceremonies, they actually come from the book of Revelation. And now I know there's some of you who were here at Burning Bowl, and you're thinking, okay, at Burning Bowl, he was talking about the story where Jesus is cleaning demons out of houses and how that relates to negative thinking, and now he's getting ready to crack open the book of Revelation. What have I stumbled into? Just bear with me, I'm going somewhere with this. But in the book of Revelation, in chapter 2, this is the section where John, the author of the book, he's writing to different churches. And he's actually being kind of critical of the things that they're doing. But the origin of the white stone ceremony comes from verse 17. So chapter 2, verse 17 reads, "Let anyone who has an ear to listen to what Spirit is saying to the churches. To everyone who conquers, I will give some of the hidden manna, and I will give a white stone. And on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it." Now, I'll tell you, there's more significance to this than the fact that it just has the words white stone in it twice. If you don't have one of these Bibles, if you're really interested in the Bible and what it says and what's in there and kind of the intricacies of it, I would recommend that you get one of these annotated study Bibles. Because the neat thing about this is just the top half of this page is the actual words of the Bible, and then the bottom half is filled with footnotes. It's filled with other places in the Bible where you can find similar phrases. It's filled with things about what this meant to the people who wrote it, because they had their own symbolism just like we have today. And if we look at the footnote for that particular verse, it actually refers us back to a verse in Isaiah. In Isaiah 62, verse 2, it's written, "The nations shall see your vindication, and all the kings your glory, and you shall be called by a new name that the mouth of the Lord will give." And then if I go down and look at the footnote for that, what I see is that in that time, the bestowing of a new name on somebody was actually significant. It signified a change in their fortune. It signified a new dispensation from God, a new calling from God. And so this year when you get your white stone word, when that word comes to you, know that that word is your calling from God. It's your theme for 2015. It's what you're being called to express in this year. So that's the whole idea behind a new name, but why a white stone? Why do we use a white stone? And why did John mention a white stone when he wrote that passage? Well, I took a look back at Roman history, and I actually found out that there are several uses for white stones that the Romans used. They used them for all sorts of things. They used them in the judicial system. As a juror, you would cast a vote for innocence by placing a white stone. It was a black stone if you were casting a guilty verdict. They were used for admission into events at the temple and at the Colosseum. A white stone was your ticket to get in. They were given to prisoners when they were released from prison. And they were also used to mark a good day and a bad day on a calendar. The Romans would put a white stone on a day on the calendar if it was a good day and a black stone if it was a bad day. It was sort of their version of getting a gold star at the end of the day. And then there was this other use for them. And this is the use that really resonated with what our purpose is here today. You see, there was another use for white stones. They were called hospitality tablets. And the custom was that when you were traveling throughout ancient Rome, and as you can imagine, travel in that day and age, it wasn't the safest to undertake. You know, you were walking long distances. And as you began to approach your town, so let's say you were traveling into Rome, well, as you're walking into Rome, there weren't signs that said Rome, 70 miles at the next exit, Ramada, La Quinta, Super 8, that didn't exist. You had to rely on the hospitality of your fellow mankind, of your fellow humans. And so if I went into your village, into your area, and I stayed the night at your place, and you fed me, gave me shelter, made sure I was refreshed and kept safe and ready to begin my journey the next day, before I would leave, what you would do is you would take a white stone, and you would break it in half, and you would give me half, and then you would keep the other half. And on your half of the white stone, you would write your name, or your code, your symbol, and I would do the same to mine. And before we left, we would exchange stones. And then the practice was that the next time you were traveling, if you entered into my territory or came to my house, you would just present that stone to whoever it was that received you, and by the fact that you had that stone, that meant that you were to be taken in and you were to be given the best hospitality and you were to be given safe passage through the area. It gave you my authority to be treated well. And so the symbolism that we find with our white stones today is that this is sort of God's authority for you to have all that you need to have within you to make this word your reality this year. You see, the word that you receive, that's your new name, that's your new calling, but the stone itself is symbolic of the power and presence of God, that God is going to offer you safe passage through this year of exploring this word, that God is going to offer you all of the hospitality that you need through you as you spend your year living out this word. So that's kind of the history of why we use white stones and where they come from. You see, this new name that you're going to receive today is your personal theme for 2015. It's the thing that's going to call you into a greater understanding of who and what you are, and a greater understanding of your relationship with God. Now, I do want you to remember that when you set out to use this word as your theme for the year, to really interact with this word throughout the year and to live it, it's not about success or failure. You see, with a lot of resolutions, what happens is I either did it or I didn't. I can put the check next to yes, I did that this year, or no, I didn't. This isn't about whether or not you successfully did something. In fact, throughout the course of trying to live this theme for the year, you're going to have many successes. You're going to have many failures too. That's just part of how this works. But know that each time that you fail to live up to fully embodying that word that's yours, that was a step in calling you higher. Know that every change that you're confronted with is God's way of working within you to mold and shape you into the greatness that each and every one of you is capable of being. So it's not really about a success or a failure, but it's about moving into a beingness with what you've been called to be. Now, there's another piece that I would like to encourage all of you to do, and that's to share your word. Share it with close friends, share it with family. Now, I know the scripture says that the name will be secret and only known to you, but I'm going to tell you to share it. And there's an important reason why. Because when we share these words with others, when we share what we're attempting to do with others, then they can become accountable to us and we can become accountable to them. They can help us on our journey as we begin to try and understand what this word means and how we should use it. Now, there is a catch to that. If you're going to do something like that, I would really encourage you to share it with people who are willing to call you out on your stuff. Because it doesn't do you a whole lot of good if you share it with somebody that's going, oh yeah, no, you're doing great. So you want to share it with somebody who's willing to say, you know what? I know your word for this year was success, and I don't know how you really thought about success when you made those decisions. So share it with somebody who'll help keep you accountable to it. The other thing to do is to keep your white stone in a place where you can see it every day. You know, I have mine on my little stand where I have my wallet and everything else that I grab in the morning, and so I see it every morning. It's right there. I know some people that they keep them in their pockets, and they keep them in there so long, and they kind of rub them to remind themselves of what their word was, and they rub it so much that by April you can't tell what the word was to begin with. That's okay too. You know, you could take your phone, take a picture of it, and then make that your screensaver on your phone. Every time you look at this, you're reminded that this is the year of being success. This is the year of being peace, of being love. Have regular meetings with the people that are holding you accountable. Talk about what's going on. Include the word in your prayer time. Journal about the word. If you'd like to sit down and make tiles and paint pretty tiles with your word on them and hang them up, and do whatever you want, as long as you keep that word in the forefront of your mind. Because what we know in unity is that the things that we think about, the things that are in our mind, are the things that become the truth of what we are. Our thoughts create our reality. And so the more we focus on this word in our life, the more we think about this word, the more it becomes the reality of what we are. So share it, live the word. Make this your year of living whatever your white stone word is. Now, here in just a few moments, we're going to enter into our ceremony to receive what our word for 2015 will be. And before we do that, I want to just kind of explain a little bit about what the process is going to be. Remember in the gospel stories, the parable of the sower, which is the story Jesus told his disciples about the scattering of the seeds. And if some of the seeds get scattered on the dry, rocky land and doesn't take root, and some of it on fertile soil and grows bountifully. Well, the first step we have to do is we have to prepare ourselves. See, we have to prepare our own souls to receive that which is ours to receive, so that the soil that this blessing falls on is fertile, is ready to grow. It's not the rocky, dry soil. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to prepare our hearts. And we're going to do that through a time of meditation, because I've learned throughout many, many years that these sort of things often come best to me in times of quiet and times of reflection. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take some time to be in the quiet. We're going to take some time to reflect. And in that time of reflection, what we're going to do is ask ourselves 3 questions. The first question we'll ask is, what do I need? What do I need? And then we'll ask ourselves, what's standing in the way? What is it that's an obstacle to me getting what I need? And finally, what we want to ask is, what is it time for me to let go of? What do I not need anymore as I go into this year? What can I release? And the answers to these 3 questions are going to point to a very important thing. Why? The answer, why? You see, knowing why it is that you resonate with a certain word this year will help you embody it that much more. Knowing why it is that you're called to be peace, that you're called to be love, that you're called to be success or joy, knowing what you need, what you're ready to let go of, that helps that word take root within you like never before. You know, last year, my word was guided. And sometimes this will happen. Some of you out there may receive a word today that you get, and you're like, really, what? This makes no sense. And that was kind of what happened with me last year. I had no idea why it was guided. Kind of wanted it to be joy, but that's okay. But as I went through the year, what I did is I made a conscious effort to see how I was being guided in every moment. And not only am I being guided, but am I using the guidance that I would receive? Now, sometimes I was much more successful with it than others. There were times I didn't go to guidance first. But I do remember one particular time, and this was about 2 days before the term ended at Unity Institute, and I was supposed to graduate. We received our program audit, which is the list of all the classes that are required courses that you have to graduate. And I'm looking over it, and I notice there's a blank spot right next to Jesus' teachings. It doesn't have the little checkbox next to it. Now, in that moment, what I realized was I could go one way. I could go towards fear and oh my God, I'm not going to graduate. Or I could go towards the idea of trusting in my guidance. Let's go inside and let's listen to what God's guidance says. And so that's what I did. This is my year of being guided. I'm going to be guided. And I got the guidance to just call and check that there's some sort of mistake here. It's just call and check. Well, it turns out the course had shifted and the course number changed, and the program they used, it was an auto population deal where the course numbers just went right in if you took it or not. And because the course number changed, it didn't know that I took it, and everything was fine. Thankfully, I saved myself a great deal of worry over that. And I say all of this to tell you just to be aware. As you go through this coming year, be aware of those moments that come up, those moments where it's calling you to seek a greater exploration of what your word is, where it's calling you to use your word in a way you've never used it before. So that first step that we'll undertake is to prepare ourselves to receive that word. Now, the second step that we'll use in our White Stone meditation is we need to be quiet and listen. Because this isn't a word that we can seek out. This isn't a word we can find. This is a word that's given to us. It's a word that we receive from the presence of God within us. We can't make it happen. We can't force it to come to us. And you know, some of you may get your word today. You may have it by the time we end the meditation. Some of you may not come today. It may come when you're driving home. It may come when you're going to bed tonight. It may come when you're in the shower. Your job from this point on is to just be present and listen and wait for that word to reveal itself to you, because what we know and what we trust is that it will reveal itself to you very, very soon. So it's important to just listen, to be still, to know that we've asked for it and that it is coming. And so before we enter into our meditation, I'd like to ask, does everybody have one of the stones and a pencil to write with it on? It really is best to use a pencil to write on these. The pen just doesn't go well on these tiles. So if you don't have one, if you just raise your hand, one of the ushers will be happy to bring you a stone. And then at the end of the service today, of course, the stone is yours to use and to guide you this year. But we would like to ask that you just return the pencils so we have them ready to use next time. And if you're listening online or if you're watching online and you would like to get a white stone, they're available for purchase on our website. You can also pick up extra stones in our bookstore after the service. But now that everyone has one of these stones, I'd just like to ask you to prepare for a time of guidance and meditation. And so right here, right where we are, Right now, we affirm that God is. We relax into this moment, allowing the chair to support us as we gently release any and all thoughts that are not of this time, that are not of this sacred moment. Right here, right now, right where we are, we know and affirm that God is. Right here, right now, right where we are, we know and affirm that God shines through us. Right now, right here where we are, we affirm that there is only God. And in this moment, we are connected to that divine potential. We shine that divine light in a greater way. We affirm that the power and presence of God moves through us, that it guides and directs us. And so we enter into this moment of sacred communion with that presence of Spirit. And in this moment, we ask the presence of God within us, what is it that I need? What is it that I need to become? What is it that needs to be a greater part of my life in 2015? And we listen as God speaks through us. Knowing now what it is that we need, we ask the still small voice inside, what obstacles are standing in my way? What is it that's blocking the flow of my good? What is in the pathway from me receiving what it is that I need? And we listen for Spirit's guidance. And finally, we ask ourselves, what do I need to let go of? What is it that I need to release from 2014, from my past? What am I still carrying that does not need to come with me into this new year? What do I let go of? And so in this moment, we affirm that our hearts are ready, that the soil has been prepared. We know right now that this is a time of holy, sacred communion with the Christ that we are. And so in this sacred moment, we ask that Christ nature, what is it that is mine to accomplish this year? What is my theme for 2015? What am I being called into? What am I being called to be this year? And we rest and allow God to speak to us in the silence. And if you've received your word, I invite you to go ahead and write it now on your stone. And if that word has not yet come to you, I invite you just to be patient and trust. So I'd like to invite you to just hold your stone in your hand and join me in this time of gratitude, this time of blessing, because we know that these stones are simply the vehicle to deliver to us that which we are called to be in this coming year. We bless these stones as that vehicle, knowing that this was a sacred moment, knowing that we are called into our greatness in this year like we've never been called before. Our hearts overflow with gratitude. Gratitude and blessing for this moment, this divine moment, this God moment. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen. It's been said that you've come here to be just yourself, to not be anything other than yourself, to not try to be someone else, but to be only the best you that you can be. And so this year, as you explore living your life and living out this word, this theme, I just affirm that each one of you lives it gloriously, that each one of you shines your light brightly, and each one of you has the most wonderful 2015 imaginable. God bless you all.